We be trippin's all about trip planning and how we go about it. Walt Disney World and Disneyland are both destinations that have a heck of a lot of things to know. And if you are just starting out, or if you're somebody that's been around the block a few times and visited these destinations, there's always more you can understand about the places. And so today we are really going to focus on Star Wars Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland and Disney's Hollywood Studios. This attraction has garnered so much attention and is sort of the second coming of the e-ticket. If you don't know what e-ticket stands for, I'll tell you that the e-ticket is sort of the greatest attraction that you used to be able to buy an individual ticket for back when Disneyland first opened. That was considered the top of the line, coolest experience you could possibly buy a ticket for, and on the ticket was the letter E. So each ticket had a different letter assigned to it, sort of valuing the experience overall. So your A ticket was kind of your more less than interesting attractions, and your E ticket was the spectacular ones. So this is the rebirth of the e-ticket attraction, and definitely something that Tyler and I this past week ventured out to Disneyland to experience firsthand. Now, both of you, Tyler and Katrina, have experienced this out at Walt Disney World already, at Disney's Hollywood Studios. So let's start here. Before we dive in, Tyler, to our specific experience, how do you plan a trip or a day around Rise of the Resistance? Because there's a lot to know here. You can't just show up to the park and go, oh, I want to go on. It doesn't work like that.
No,
I mean, you have to wake up super early, make sure you get in line to get in. And then at that point, you can stand wherever you want, in the park with your phone, and then make sure. And then for him and I, we had our phones out and made sure we refreshed and tried to get that ticket. But yeah, you can't really do anything until you get your ticket. Really, you might get your fast passes or something for the day, but make sure you get your fast passes in Hollywood Studios so you can stay there pretty much all day. Mm-hmm. But now we had a 2-hour grace period, so now with that 1 hour, you kind of really have to stay there.
Yeah.
Or take the Skyliner to maybe Epcot and do some stuff, but I would maybe stay at Hollywood Studios.
Hope you don't get stuck on the Skyliner on the way over.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, Lord, don't even.
Could happen.
That's bad mojo up there.
Yeah, I think you should show up an hour before the park opens, at least. I mean, maybe things have changed, but I think that's a good. We definitely got there earlier than an hour before the park opened.
I think we did an hour and a half before, not even park open, but before they were letting us through the gates, and then when we did that, we wanted to make sure we were in the front, and we're in a decent hour and a half before, and then as soon as we got through the gates, we kind of just wandered over to this little side area. But now I don't know what it's like. I don't know if it's people show up an hour before, or even if 30 minutes people barely got through to get in, to get their ticket scanned to get inside the park. But
yeah, you definitely don't want to show up. Don't think you can show up 30 minutes before the park opens and be all set, because it could definitely take you longer than 30 minutes to get from the back of the line to the front gate of the park. So again, show up early, and refresh the app. One of the things that I think when the first time we did it, we made the mistake, or at least I made the mistake of. So there's 2 buttons on the app. It says My Status and Join Boarding Group, and the Join Boarding Group is always going to be blurred out. And then, so I thought, I guess I should just wait for Join Boarding Group to come up, or at least I refreshed my app, and I was like, oh, that button still didn't show up. But little tip, what you can do, and I think it's faster and is more effective too, is click on My Status, and then the only thing there, if you haven't joined a boarding group yet, is a button to join a boarding group. So, and that will be highlighted for sure, because it has to refresh to get to that page to begin with, to make sure that you don't have a boarding group or anything. So that's the fastest way to do it. Click on My Status, then click on Join Boarding Group. Make sure you have everybody's tickets scanned.
Important.
You have to make sure that everybody in your group is has at least scanned into the park when the park opens. Because if Joe's not there when the park opens and he does not part of your boarding group,
sorry,
Joe ain't getting on.
Yeah.
Take
Joe's
a hike,
out of
Joe.
luck.
Yeah. So make sure everybody is ready. And what we did too is, especially if you have a big group, take the 10 minutes, the 15 minutes, whatever, to go around and scan all of your friends and just make sure that every single person is getting ready for those boarding groups, because, you can. It happens where people get boarding groups and they don't get on the ride,
Right.
because they didn't get one early enough. So, and I'm telling you, these will be gone within a minute.
Yep.
Within a minute.
Yeah.
So
make sure everybody has their phone out, pretty
Yeah.
much, so
Everyone's
you have
trying.
a higher chance to
Right.
get a better boarding group. If someone's in, get it.
Yep.
Don't, and then and then there's an option to select all on your profile. Select all. Don't just individually click, because because then you have more of a risk to get a further boarding group. So just select all, make sure you have everybody, select all, and then continue. Because if you keep selecting and then double checking if you have everybody, you have like a worse chance to like get the worst boarding group. So be quick.
Absolutely. And Tyler, you've now been able to do this, sort of securing both boarding passes on both coasts. Obviously, the My Disney Experience app, a little bit different than the Disneyland app. Any differences that you saw when it came to the boarding pass system?
they're not. The boarding pass system seems to be pretty much the same on both coasts. It has the same. Yeah, it seems to have the same GUI and everything like that. So I don't think there's a difference there. It was a very similar process on both coasts, actually, except for the fact that, like, for some reason, Disneyland felt, and maybe it's because I had done it before, but Disneyland felt less, what's the word? Like, I felt like less adrenaline at Disneyland. Like,
Okay.
it felt like less crazy. Like, in Disney World, everybody kind of had that feeling of we have to get to Chinese theater, go and everybody
much, yeah.
was like going as far as they could, and Katrina and I were off to the side like, where do all these people think they're going, you know? And
I mean, we were like surrounded by strollers too, with the parents like trying to push forward, not knowing what everybody was standing around for too.
yeah, this lady was like, is everybody waiting in a line? And we're like, what are you
are you
here
here this
for? Like,
And like I like kept putting my foot back like towards like the wheel, because she kept like pushing
Yeah.
forward to try to get through, and I'm like, you can't look around, everybody's on their phone like
Yeah.
for a reason. And then
Right.
she just didn't understand. So when Tyler and I kind of like pushed to the side to like get away, and then and then the crowd erupts when it starts, and then they got their
Yeah.
tickets, and then everybody just like runs forward and then goes on like probably like Toy Story Land, or tries to go do those
They
rides.
hit the next hot ticket
Yeah.
attraction. Yeah.
Pretty much, like, and then Tower of Terror, like everybody's like booking it over there to try to get their tickets and stuff. So but yeah, so just, if you don't need to like push forward
Yeah.
to get a better, I don't know, signal, I don't know, but I don't know,
in
people
fact,
I don't know what they were thinking.
I've also heard, like, in fact, especially like at Disneyland, if you really want to get in the park, scan your ticket, and then leave.
Yeah.
Because you'll have when so many people are in the same area trying to access like cell phone towers at the same time and everything, it could theoretically give you a worse chance. I mean, I'm not gonna go out and say definitely you'll have a worse chance, but if you're somewhere else where there's less people trying to access their phone all at the same time, it's a possibility you could get on a little bit faster. You don't have to be in the park to get the boarding pass. So
Disneyland already known for its spotty Wi-Fi and
Oh,
don't be on the. I would say don't be on the Wi-Fi
Yeah.
for Disneyland.
do your own.
Definitely.
it's already a black hole.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, let's jump out to Walt Disney World, and I think at Epcot right now. Our Walt Disney World reporter, Gared, is standing by. You were there opening day for Rise of the Resistance. Hello from Italy, it looks like.
I figured that since Katrina was in Italy, I should go find her, but now she's back there, so it's sort of...
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Aw.
But so ciao, all my friends.
Well, tell us about your experience when it came to opening day. I mean, you were in the heat of battle. You were in the madness. How quick were they out of boarding passes, and what was your boarding group? I know that you did a vlog on this for us originally, but take us through your process so that we can have this all in one place in one video so people understand.
Yeah. So this was before they did the... when the park opens at 7, that's when it all goes live. Hi, friend. People love us. But so for me, my system was if you got in at 4:30, you could get it then, but you can't get on the ride until the park actually opens. So I did it with the old system. Oh no, the juggling person's coming through.
Oh, he's my
Sergio.
favorite.
Come
Yes.
say hi to Sergio. He's gonna throw the ball at you, and you're gonna miss the basket.
Yeah, but for me, I got into the park, and the second I scanned in, I immediately opened the app and I clicked join boarding group, and I got boarding group 64, and then I waited 8 hours. Now 64 is more so 4 or 5 hours, but
Well,
yeah, I haven't experienced the new system yet where when the park opens at 7, that's when you can log in. Sorry.
oh, don't know what that was. The
No,
darkness
sorry,
of Mysterio strikes again.
My phone's like, do you want to
I
have
didn't
a
defeat
battery
him.
or whatever? But I haven't experienced the new system yet. So I got in, I clicked it, and then during that time, I walked around. I went on Smuggler's Run. I went on Midway Mania. I went on Slinky Dog. I then went to Epcot and back. So my whole thing is just trying to find something to do. If there's Beauty and the Beast the show's on, go see Beauty and the Beast. If there is Frozen sing along, go sing along. The main thing is just keeping yourself busy. I brought 2 backup batteries for my phone so that way I could charge and be ready to go. So I never was bored at all. I honestly explored and walked around and I watched people's reactions to stuff just to see, like, I like to people watch and it was fun. So that's how I keep myself entertained when I was waiting for 8 hours until my ride.
Can I just say, like, this show clearly is live because no sane person would be sitting where you're sitting right now, trying to discuss a topic so in depth when it comes to something like Rise of the Resistance. But
it's just you in one ear, and then I hear whistle, whistle, and I just want to be like, man, I'm trying to do a show here.
yeah, right.
I know.
Sergio, stai zitto.
You could not pick a more.
But his show is themed to Festival of the Arts, so he's juggling paintbrushes. That's cool.
Oh wow, I didn't know he did
How
that.
about that? Paintbrushes everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, very good.
I know. I'm gonna go interrupt the show and be like, would you like to be a part of this?
Yeah, I'm sure he would appreciate
Yeah,
that.
he'd love it.
But thank you for sharing your take on what you experienced on opening day for Rise of the Resistance. Now, Tyler, let's talk a little bit about what happened to us. So we got there early, right? We got there before park opening. Fast forward through the part where I almost didn't make it before park opening.
And I was about to have a heart attack on the floor.
He sure was. The first and only time where I've ever experienced the Lyft app not working and having a global outage.
Oh my gosh.
And my Uber driver confirmed that the Lyft app was down, so that was good. But getting to you at literally, I think 3 minutes before the top of the hour
And,
for the park opening, and we raced in. We scanned each other's tickets onto one another's app so that we both had equal chances. And then as the clock started counting down, we got to that point where it was time. Pick up from there. What happened?
So I somehow had an extra pass for me on my app, so that ended up taking a little bit of extra time. I had to declick that extra pass.
Annual pass?
Yeah, I don't know why I have that one still on there. I don't know. You can't remove it either, so it's like just stuck there for some reason. I don't know. Anyway,
Getting in the way.
yeah, getting in the way. So that kind of slowed us down a little bit. I think we got boarding group 69, correct? And we waited and waited, and we thought, you had to leave around 2 or so, and we thought, oh, we've got plenty of time, no big deal. Probably around that time is when they'll call us.
Yeah.
No, it'll be a good time. I would have to say, spoiler alert, that it was probably the worst day for operation that I've seen so far for Rise of the Resistance.
Seen or heard about, right?
That's what I mean. That have heard about. So Wade and I were hanging out, doing the thing you do at Disney, and it was maybe 5 or so groups until our group. So we're like, let's go and head over there and see what's going on. And we get there, and people are leaving.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And I think both of our hearts just kind of sank. We were like, oh no, this isn't good. And we kind of heard from cast members it was down and it would be coming back up in a little while. So whatever. We went to go hang out some more, go do some more talking. I was about to say a curse word. And I don't know where that came from.
Wow.
Show. I know.
Oh.
I know.
Family
Sorry.
show here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Look, I stopped myself. So it gets to literally group 68. And we're like, oh, man, okay, let's walk over there. Like, let's go, 68. It's time to go. And literally the same thing happened again. Am I misremembering this? Because
No, that's
exactly what happened, right? And we were just standing there for probably a good hour and a half, 2 hours.
And you even spoke to a man outside the attraction who had mentioned that he had a boarding pass that I think was a few away from us, as a matter of fact. And he came early just to get a boarding pass, right? He showed up at the crack of dawn just to secure that thing. Then he goes home because he's a local. He goes home, does his chores, gets everything out of the way for the day. Started noticing kind of a similar thing. Noticed that the numbers were, depleting and that things were progressing, and so he drove back to the resort, got back in the park, and ended up standing there for even longer than us because the poor guy had a number that I think was even further away.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. So to kind of cut to the end a little bit here. Oh, by the way, actually, so finally our boarding group was called, and we were so excited.
Right.
And we were kind of goofing around. I think we were going off. We were just having a good time, adrenaline. Like we're finally getting in,
happening,
and we were just goofing around. I was like, Wade.
And by the way, timestamp. This is 7:30.
Yeah, 7:30 p.m. when we thought we would get on,
and we got there. We got there right before.
I got there at like 7.
Yeah,
I got there at like 7.
And I rolled in moments before 8, and we got there super early in the morning. We're there until 7:30 at night before getting this call.
Yeah.
And then we move in and they start doing the triple check of the boarding pass.
Right, the boarding pass thing that Gared was mentioning earlier. And then we get in line and I'm like, and Wade's kind of like, I can't believe we're here. And I think you kind of like touched something just to make sure it was real. And
I started
was like,
touching everything.
And I was like, touch everything, Wade, touch everything. Yeah. And then you touched a light. And
panel.
As soon as you touched this light, all of a sudden, all the other lights went off.
Yeah, it was
and then
terrifying.
All the sound went away.
Mysterio.
Yeah.
And it was really weird. It lost power. The ride clearly lost power somehow for some reason. And
I've never encountered anything like that.
Yeah, it was really
weird.
weird.
Yeah,
it was really strange because, and especially you don't realize. Even when it sounds like there's nothing, even when you're in the Rise of the Resistance queue and you're kind of not noticing there's a sound,
right.
There is a sound. It's always playing some kind of ambient noise. And so as soon as that ambient noise disappeared, it was really strange. And they came on the loudspeaker. They said, hey, we don't know when it's coming back. So you can stay in line if you want, or you can leave. And that was kind of our two options, stay in line or leave. And, we just decided to stick it out for another, I want to say, hour and a half until the line started moving again.
And I think I even made the joke right before I touched the light panel, it's probably going to break down on us before we even get there.
Yeah.
Touch that light panel and there out go the lights and out goes, the power's gone and everything just happens.
Then the line starts moving again.
Which, by the way, as we were waiting, it looked like a refugee camp. People were so, because know how much went through every one of these persons' experience throughout the day, how much they had to put up with, how much they had to experience in terms of just getting to this point. Because I know what we had to experience. And look, we were very fortunate, okay? We had a lot of breaks in between. We were able to go rest up. I mean, there was a lot of goodies in between that we got to go take part in.
I was happy with the day, don't get me wrong. It was a lot, though.
But it was. And all I could think of was imagine the poor families that stuck around all day, terrified or didn't have the option of leaving, right? And going anywhere else. So they stayed all day. It was an especially cold day, while we were there, too. It was a chilly day.
It was getting cold.
And so here are all these elements sort of ramping up, and creating this environment where now, almost 12 hours later, it's exhausting, and you're there and you're in this queue and this queue is cold, and you're waiting in this dark cave basically. And now you've got all these people around you. You hear that the ride's gone down again. Yeah. And now on top of that, you're told, well, you can wait if you want to. And you're never really given any sense of how long this is going to be. Whenever you're on an attraction, it rarely happens.
I would just say the only thing that had me hopeful was that they didn't just dump the line. If they would have said
which
get
happened
out,
in front of us when we were outside,
which happened before us exactly. So, and then even so, once the ride came back up and we still had more line to go through, we still had our hearts were pounding because it could go down again at any second, because it was going down over and over again all day.
We still had 4 more rooms to get through before we even got to the attraction itself.
And then it's such a kind of split, multi-tiered attraction that you could even get through half the attraction and then have the rest shut down. It's just I was so worried the entire time, but suffice to say, we got through it. We rised with the resistance.
We did. We conquered. Some of the things that I'll say is throughout this entire experience, I mean, it obviously, by the time we got off, it had been 13 hours total.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about, right? You know, and just
68 is not a far boarding group.
I think that's, and obviously why I kept
69.
sticking around
Yeah.
was because that's what you said. You were like, oh, and then you even showed me like a graph of like how many boarding groups they were able to get through the day before. And it was into the mid hundreds, you know, it was 120, 130, somewhere in there. And so this was not a wild number to have. It wasn't like we didn't have a chance. It was, okay, you're right, about 1 or 2 o'clock likely. But there were so many delays throughout the day that this just set things back further and further. And every time we got close, I thought, I'll stick around. It'll be okay. Like, you know, we're this close. It's the next group. And it never ended up being the next group.
Right.
And then on the back end of this, while we visited the front of the attraction a few different times waiting for our moment, some of the cast members there didn't have the best attitude. And you could tell that they had sort of been beaten down in this process. No doubt they had been put through hell and back. Whenever you have an attraction, especially this popular, you are, and you have that name tag on, you know, you're the epicenter of everybody's questions and everybody's frustrations, more specifically, when they can't do what they want to do. Unfortunately, you know, we encountered not only what looked to be like a supervisor who had just kind of, he was over it, but also a cast member that started taping around us a line and then asked us what number we were. And when we told him the number, he's like, you can't stand here. You're taping a line around us right now. Yeah, and so just the sensitivity of, because I immediately thought of all the other people that were standing there all day waiting for their moment. Your words have power in a situation like this, especially if you're extra tender because you're exhausted, right? You're extra tender because you've gone through this entire process just to get here. Now you're here and you're still being told no. And all you want to do is have fun with your damn family and you can't do it. And something else happened while we were standing in that line, Tyler. He got approached and asked a question by a child.
Oh, right. Oh, gosh. I almost forgot. I was like, what happened? Yeah, well, we were just standing in that little tape area that we weren't supposed to be in, and this little boy came up to us, and he was like, "Excuse me,
Please, sir.
Please, sir, I'm from Canada," and you could see like the puppeteering happening with the father behind him, but he's like, "I'm from Canada, and we didn't know that." There was this boarding group thing, so we didn't get a boarding group. My dad will pay you $100 for your boarding pass.
$100 each.
$100 each.
Yeah.
And I told the kid, I was like, you know what? I might have done that if it was possible. I might have given it to him because it's just not possible. You need your cell phone. You know, you need to have that piece of technology with you. So there was no way I could have shared with him, unfortunately. But it does. Wow. Yeah. You know, we've raised that question before of how many people know about this boarding group thing to begin with. And this, unfortunately, kind of gave us a little bit of an answer of like, not everybody is super familiar with it, because especially if you're just like hearing that this new amazing ride is open at Disneyland, or you see a commercial, you see a billboard, you hear it on the radio, they don't mention anywhere that you need to make sure you're there at park open and you get a boarding group.
They didn't hand out pamphlets like they did at Disney World on what to do?
No.
You're just supposed to know, I guess.
You're just supposed to know.
That's so ridiculous.
You're supposed to know to show up.
Disney World like literally has like 17 things like before you go, and then they even hand out these like little pamphlets.
There was
even,
an
like,
explainer
when you
on
go
the
to
app.
Parking.
But beyond that, if you don't have the app,
people don't know about the app.
Yeah.
But, like even going through the parking garage or going like so after you scan your ticket, like anything.
And I don't know about you guys, but I've never.
Makes me so mad.
I don't.
Poor Canadians, they didn't know.
Exactly. I feel terrible for the kid.
I know, yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't think there's like very little. There's not very many experiences that I would do that I'd be like, oh well, before I go, I got to download the app.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like, and maybe times are changing, but I just can't think of many times I would be like, oh boy, it's my first time here. Better download the app on my phone. Like, I just,
Yeah, no.
it just doesn't So it is sad for people that don't get to experience it. I mean, and they were from Canada, and they're not gonna. Who knows when the next time that kid's gonna have a chance?
That could have been their last day or their only day or whatever.
It seemed like there was a certain level of desperation there. I mean, obviously with Dad standing in the background, going like, "Yes, please." I mean, it's my child. Maybe you'll have some sympathy. And
I was like, "I'll sell you my phone for a couple $1,000."
If Dad's got money to spend,
I know.
Yeah.
But that's great. And then Disneyland is not like Disney World because like Disney World's so big with so many international people coming in. Everybody, there's how many resorts does Disney have over there that everybody can be like, oh, well, if like what happened to you guys, it was almost so close to you and then you have to wait another 7 hours. Well, might as well just go back to the hotel and just kind of kick back, relax, and just keep watching the boarding groups get closer and closer and then start making your way back. And then Disneyland, I mean, you have the Disney, like, the hotels around and stuff, but I feel like a lot of people that are visiting are locals or like us that drive, a couple hours to Disney and we're kind of like stuck.
Yeah.
And, and like you have to like literally wait all day, like you said, and you're just kind of like, well, okay, well, this is all day.
I know, exactly. And I feel bad too. We had Sabina Graves on last week and I noticed that she went to Disneyland today, and unfortunately, I saw that she got group 127.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And that just means
still showed up early, did everything she was supposed to do.
What are you going to do now?
And that just means, what are you supposed to do all day?
Yeah.
I mean, you can, and the sad thing is, and I'm not trying to make her, I hope she's not listening and being like, oh no, but the sad thing is like, you have to take that gamble now of like, okay, now I can just stay here all day.
Yeah.
And still maybe not get on the ride
Maybe
because I'm
11
127.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if they give you a fast pass for the next day? They're like, oh, hey, sorry, your boarding group didn't get called. Have a fast pass for the next day. And you're like, are you kidding me? I literally called out sick from work today.
That's true.
Can't do it tomorrow.
I don't know if I don't think she got a backup group. I think if you get a backup group, they don't give you that.
Yeah.
But if you are not in a backup, then but I think 1think 127 might be backup. I'm not sure.
I think it'll tell you if you're backup though.
It will, like, but I don't. But I don't have her phone, so
I think anything beyond the low hundreds.
Yeah.
It's certainly something that
come on, Disneyland.
You have got to really mentally prepare yourself for this. Now, I know there are terrible things going on in the world, and that here we are, sort of whining about this experience, but it's something that if you're spending so much money, because again, I go back to like this poor Canadian kid, I go back to these families that have spent a fortune on these experiences, these vacations. We're lucky enough to be local, we're lucky enough to have annual passes, we're lucky enough to go whenever we want, so it's no skin off our back if it doesn't work out. But think about these families. What are they supposed to do if this is their last day, and they did try, but they didn't know their first day.
That have to drive like, a couple hours, they like make this trip out, drive a couple hours, and then you go and you literally spend all day with your family. And I can just imagine parents being mentally exhausted by trying to please your kids, trying to like get them hyped up and like, keep them awake and all that stuff. And then you finally are able to like ride the ride and stuff at around like, 9 p.m. And then you have to go home. How exhausting is that, and how dangerous is it for you to drive home now because you like literally spent all day trying to like get your kids hyped up and like do all this stuff, then you have to drive home.
Yeah.
I can't even.
Disney Guest Research is inquiring with many guests, it looks like out in Florida, as to whether or not they prefer the boarding pass experience. So this idea of trying to hit the lotto by getting to the park early and having all these things be depleted within minutes, or if they would prefer potentially a standby option of physically going and standing in the queue and waiting with a boarding pass. So having a half and half option.
Yeah.
And then also I think it was questioning whether or not they thought maybe a fast pass would be more preferable. So it looks like Disney understands that obviously people are walking away unhappy. There's a certain segment that can't still access this ride, and they probably focus their vacations around it. So I know that they're trying to make headway and do the right thing, and I've never thought for a second that Disney wanted to do anything nefarious in this regard and try and hurt anybody's feelings with this experience, because clearly they want this ride to work. Now, having been on it, I get why it breaks down. There are so
a lot of parts.
many different scenes and things that need to work and correspond with each other, not just the people aspect, not just the cast members in all the different scenes, but then you have the audio animatronics, you have all of the scene thematic elements that have to be working and moving at any given time. You have things that aren't even hooked up to a strong cable or anything like that. You have Wi-Fi.
Trackless vehicles.
Yeah. So much that has to be relied on for this attraction just to work. I'm shocked it doesn't break down more often.
It definitely is something that nobody that has come to any of these parks here, I'm not going to say anything for Tokyo or whatever. There's some great rides over in Asia. But in America, this is like probably the craziest experience that I feel like I've ever seen. Like, and I'm not even saying like best. Yeah. I just think it's like impressive in a different way than it's impressive in a different way than theme park rides usually are.
Right.
Sure.
I don't call it an attraction.
Moving parts like, one after another. You're not like you're in a holding pen technically, but there's something going on where you're not thinking that I'm in a queue anymore. Like I'm actually in the ride. So now you're kind of like, oh, now I'm in this room and now I'm going on a flight and now I'm waiting because we got captured and but you're technically in the queue. But you still as soon as you're out of that queue, like the queue area, and you go into like the spaceship, you're kind of like, I'm out of the queue.
Yeah.
But you're technically still.
And that's why I think, calling it an attraction doesn't suffice anymore. I think it really is an experience overall. I mean, it feels like you're in the film.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like you've been transported and you're in the film and it's all happening to you. There was even, a few scenes where just the visual, we weren't even like called up yet. We were standing in line in the attraction itself in one of the scenes and just seeing a certain scene at a distance and seeing other people experiencing what was going on was chilling. Because it felt like you were watching the film happen in front of you, with the first order officers and stuff like that, sort of aligning people to one side or the other going through all of them. So at any rate, I think to wrap up this discussion, I wanted to ask, how long in your mind, now that you guys have been on it, you on both coasts, how long would be too long to wait for something like this? I get it. If it's your first time, you probably want to, at all costs, most people would probably do that. That's why I kept waiting around thinking, well, I've never done it. I've never done it, so I don't know what I'm missing. Like, and I really want to experience it. But in your terms now, how long would you wait?
Like in a queue or like all day?
So if you're boarding pass 140, 20.
Oh, man. That's like, I was like, in a queue? 2 hours. But if it was like a boarding group, honestly, because if we didn't do a hotel room, because a lot of people at Disneyland, they're not gonna have a hotel room like Disney World. You literally dedicate a week to go there.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, I would probably like call it a day at like 7.
7 hours.
Like if I was there in the morning, like 7 p.m.
Oh, 7 p.m.
Yeah,
okay,
sorry.
So your cutoff time would be
7 p.m. because at that point I'd be like maybe trying to linger, like slowly walk to the car, and But I can't see myself waiting until like 9 p.m. You don't even know if you're even going to get on.
Yeah.
Park closes maybe midnight. Who knows when they're going to cut off everybody to make sure they're fully, through the queue by midnight, or if they're going to, call it midnight and then get people out by like 1 or something in the morning. And then we have to drive home. Right. And that's even dangerous because we're exhausted and stuff. And then we're kind of like, and then we'll die because we're in a car crash. But 7 p.m. is like.
Way to overthink that one. But yeah.
I mean, I have to.
Yeah,
I always think of like the worst things that could possibly happen. So I don't know. Like I hope Disney, even if like, let's say, I know this is like really far fetched, but what happens if it was like 7 p.m. or something or whatever, and then they kind of like, maybe if it breaks down or something, then they're like, oh, we'll give you half price off a hotel room if you want to spend the night and then do it the next morning. And be like, hell yeah, for sure, I'll do it.
There's nothing in it for them to do that.
Right? I know. It's wishful thinking.
Yeah, that's very wishful thinking.
Nice try.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler, what about you?
I mean, it really depends on a lot of factors, I feel like. I think it would depend on just how well they were loading the ride during the day, because you can always keep checking the app and see what boarding groups they're at. And if I was at a bad boarding group or further in the hundreds or whatever, maybe I'd wait till halfway through the day and see where we were, and if we weren't getting close or we weren't halfway through or whatever, maybe it would be time to take a hike. I think that if you've never done it before, it's something that is well worth it, especially because you are still at Disneyland all day. You still do just plan to be at Disneyland all day. It's really not that bad. And that's what most people do anyway, right? or maybe not in this local kind of town, but I feel like, just plan a day to be at Disneyland and
Maybe try to
you
get
know
like
what?
a reservation somewhere so you can like decompress a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, have a couple drinks or something.
Yeah, maybe map out a full day ahead of
Yeah,
time.
I mean,
of
when we went, we had
activities.
some breakfast and stuff. We didn't mention the breakfast, but we had breakfast and
Carnation Cafe, ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen.
and
So good.
And it's one of those things where you kind of have to play it by ear. I don't know if I could say like, oh, what would be my cutoff, but I think if it was getting to the point where I could just tell that, yeah, my number's not going to hit.
Like maybe 13 hours in and it breaks down when you're in the queue.
Yeah, you're like,
Well, see-
Anyone?
See, that's the problem though, is that for us, we were 69 and they were loading 68.
Yeah.
It broke down on 68. So it's kind of one of those things where
It's the
Okay.
worst possible
if it was like
scenario.
Yeah, if it was like 80 or 90 or something, I maybe would have been like, okay, Wade, I know you got to go. See you later. Like, I stayed in a hotel that night, so maybe I would have stuck around and done it myself or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things where we just had to check the app, and we were there. We were we were next. We were the next group. We had to be on. So in that sense, it made sense to stay.
What's your
around.
question?
So I've been out, so I haven't been like totally full on like trying to keep up on my Disney stuff. But if they don't finish the groups in that day, are they giving fast passes for the next day for like groups like
I
1,
think if
2,
you're
and 3
a part
or
of
whatever?
guaranteed boarding groups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like even that is kind of hard for people at Disneyland because like for you guys like off jobs. So if you go on Sunday because that's your weekend and then you don't make it and then you get have your fast pass on Monday and you're like.
I was even mentioning to Tyler, I was like, well, if I get a fast pass, it better be good for next weekend.
Right.
Yeah,
They
'cause
should
you were
at least
leaving.
give it for
Yeah.
like 7 days or something.
Getting out of town the next day, like there was no way I was even going to be around physically.
Sure.
So it better be for next week.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you're already dedicating like a full day to going to Disneyland, and now they're kind of expecting you to go again. Like
Like Disney World again is different because you're dedicating a week for vacation or whatever. So you're kind of guaranteed if you're doing it, you're probably going to stay the next day.
Right.
And then do it in the morning, but
Oh,
That's
Rise
crazy.
of the Resistance. Well, Kurt, I know you haven't been able to experience it yet here at Disneyland, but I wanted to ask now, hearing all of these horror stories and all of these things that we've had to go through in order to just experience this ride, you willing to put up with it?
Nope.
no.
Really?
Yeah, no, I'll wait.
Wow. Okay.
I really want to go on the ride. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I just don't want to deal with that. Getting up early, all that stuff. I'll wait.
It's a heck of a process.
We're planning on going in March for my wife's birthday. We'll
Yeah.
probably-
Oh,
That's
okay.
when we'll a couple more months.
Get breakfast
Yeah.
reservations.
I'll
kinda
wait.
get it done.
Yeah, I'll do it just when they get some of the kinks out. I don't want it
Sure.
to break down as much. I don't want to have to go through that process where if I'm like one away.
I will say, like, for people who are worried about getting there really early, if you go on a weekday when they open the park at like 9, you really could get there at like 8 p.m. You could really get there at 8 a.m. and I would bet money that you'd be okay. 8 a.m. is not that bad, but
Yeah. Well,
but I know I'm not saying like I respect your opinion. I'm not trying to
no,
poo-poo it, but
well, so to be there at 8 a.m. it's like an hour drive, so it's like half.
sure, yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah,
You know,
I'm
so it's
I'm the
like-
same way. I'm
yeah,
in
I-
Woodland Hills, so
I'm not a morning person.
Yeah.
I'd rather just get there later, and that's usually how I treat Disneyland. I get there later in the day.
Oh, I think that's how a lot of us do it, probably.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like the locals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Yokel locals.
Well, the only other thing that I wanted to mention, Tyler, that I forgot to speak about right off the bat was, you had already been waiting in line for, you said about 7 a.m., so about an hour before
Yeah.
the park opened. You were like holding a spot at the front of the gate. When I got there, it's probably 25 till the top of the hour. Okay, so it's probably 25 minutes before 8 a.m. So I got there about that time just to get through security, and this is on the Harbor Boulevard side,
no.
because I had the most chatty security guard you could possibly imagine, wanting to know about everybody's dining reservations.
like, shh, psh.
It was like, do you know what people are trying to get in for? But even then, because I thought about this after we got in, you were holding a spot for me at the front of the gate so that when I showed up, we could just walk right in. It was amazing. However, there were thousands of people still outside.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands of
Oh
people that
my
still haven't
God.
even
And they
been processed through the
didn't get it.
turnstiles.
Yep.
They couldn't have gotten in,
No way.
possibly.
Did
Probably.
you get booed as you were walking up to the front?
I
All
was
those
so
stink
worried. I was
eyes?
so worried. I was so worried that people were going to call me out for trying to wait, but
They knew
Nobody
who you
did.
were, Tyler. It was okay.
It's okay. We're part
Give
of
him
the
a
Kingdom
pass.
Report. Yeah.
He's part of the Kingdom Report.
Yeah.
Bless that man. It's for research. But no, I mean, there's probably 5,000, 8,000 people outside, in that Esplanade and into downtown Disney waiting to get into the park for the day that still hadn't been processed through the turnstiles. That I know probably got there in plenty of time, at least they thought. So
geez.
all things to consider if you want to plan around Rise of the Resistance, at least for the next couple months. This is a hot ticket in town. This is what everybody wants to do. So keep that in mind as you plan your next Disney vacation, whether in your Walt Disney World or in Disneyland.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.